Good morning. Good morning. My name is Ellen Forsyth. I work at the State Library of New South Wales. I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that some of us are meeting on today, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I would also like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that each of the participants is from. Welcome to this Blue Jeans video conference today, where we hear from Brendan McDonald and Jim Maguire from Port Macquarie Hastings Council. Welcome to the libraries who are participating via Blue Jeans today, the other libraries who are watching this later on. If you're tweeting about this or posting to other social media, please use hashtag Ukulele 2016. If you are listening, it's a good idea to mute your microphone until you're asking questions. That way Brendan and Jim will stay in the main frame. So please mute if you're not talking. Lovely. And I don't know how to fix this one now that Tamworth is in the dominant screen. So I'm just going to, move it over to that. Okay, over to Brendan and Jim. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Ellen. So basically what we're going to talk about today is just a few of the projects that we've undertaken over the last, 2-3 years?
Yeah, 2 years.
2 years. So I've done a little presentation that I'll share and just go through. It's probably best to save questions till the end, maybe, unless if I have the chat open and you guys want to throw some things in, then just be free to do that. So the order of things today is basically in the order of the projects that we actually did. So we're going to talk about quickly the seed library and the garden because they're linked, obviously. Ukulele lending program that we have, our Imaginarium recording studio, and finally the tech room, which was our last endeavour. Brief introduction just about Port Macquarie Hastings Council area. As of 2016, Profile ID said that we were going to be about 80,000 members or people. An LGA size of 3,500 kilometres or square kilometres. That's quite a large LGA, as any regional council is. The library is 3 branches. Our circulation stats for 2014-15 were 771,000, which is quite considerable. Our loans per staff member, almost 40,000 per staff member. So that indicates either that we're a very, very busy library as far as readership goes, or that we're also quite understaffed. But either way, it's happy days and very busy. Okay, so the seed library. This was done together with the garden. We actually formed a small group to kind of run and coordinate both. The idea for the seed library firstly came about after Jim kept saying no to me for a community garden, and then after a couple of years he came up with the idea or saw the idea for the seed libraries in the United States, and the success of those seemed to be pretty strong. So it was a joint library council initiative. There was a healthy living grant that our council actually managed to secure. We were approached by council.
Yes.
Yeah. With the look to some idea to actually help use the grant at our end. Jim was kind of tossing around the seed library idea, and I was talking about the garden. So we actually ran with the seed library. It was actually quite an exciting project because it hadn't been done that we'd seen until Nundle just beat us by how long? A
matter of days.
Days, according to Jim. And it also tied in with a local community garden launch called the Lost Plot around the same time. Now, I'll come to that in a second. Before I get to that, we had to talk about like why we'd need it, why we wanted to do it, whether there was a community need for that. It's hard to tell when it hasn't actually been done before. So we kind of took an educated guess and really hoped that it was going to work and there was going to be a community need for it. We were hoping to attract new users, obviously, and bring out any kind of keen seed savers and gardeners that weren't already using the library. The argument was that we had a lot of staff on hand that were keen gardeners, and they could offer assistance in the project. And again, the timing with the community garden launch was a bit of a pitch. The big thing for us, I suppose, in actually getting it over the line, and because of the Lost Plot launch, is that they had secured Costa. So Costa, being the most awesome dude ever, actually was more than happy to come across to the library and launch our seed library and our garden at the same time. And that was really, really successful. We had a huge kind of media interest surrounding that. He talked and talked and talked. It was actually hard to get to stop at one point, but he was a really, really good guy and helped promote that for us. Feedback was awesome from everybody. Obviously, there were a few people who kind of questioned why we should be doing it or why we were doing it. But especially once Costa came in and launched it, they kind of got sold on the idea. We definitely had people signing up because of the seed library. People wanted to join the community garden. We now have a very core, dedicated group of garden volunteers who run both. The interest from other libraries was really, really good. I still get emails today from libraries that are keen to get started, and they just want to, I guess, get some tips on how to get going. The other big thing with this was that it actually brought, say, the library a bit closer to council, I suppose, as far as doing things together or coordinating things together. Do you want to chime into that, Tim?
I just think it's very important to seize upon an opportunity and basically put the library forward as somewhere that says yes and somewhere that's keen to try new ideas. This was the first time we'd really got in close partnership with council to do something a bit out of the ordinary. And since this project, we are now seen as the place to come to if anyone in council's got a weird, wacky idea.
Yeah, so there was definitely a perception change, I think, at council level, and I guess at our level as well. Actually, seeing that we could work quite well with our council counterparts, which we should be anyway, really. But we are, libraries are in their own little bubble sometimes. Now I put making here because I was trying to loosely tie it back to the whole makerspace idea, and it is quite tenuous. The garden and the seed library, we believe, kind of encourages collaboration. So whether it's chatting about how to, garden, plant seeds, or even sharing seeds, info sharing, obviously, plants and produce. So that's the big thing. So people are hopefully growing great veggies, plants, sharing their seeds, and also the garden and the garden group are actually doing some great stuff. I think I've got photos here, maybe I haven't done it yet. Sustainability. So on an ongoing basis, we've got the actual garden group are the ones that are filling the seeds. So we prep them every fortnight for their meeting. They'll come in and fill those seeds for us. The idea was eventually that it would be self-sustaining, so we would hopefully get people bringing in their own seeds and just sharing that, and we could maybe slowly add less of our own cost or less of our own seeds to the display. We're yet to do that. It does kind of ebb and flow a little bit depending on seasons and demand, but it is very, very popular. So this is the community garden out the front of the library being constructed as part of the same Healthy Living grant. So we put out an expression of interest for people that were keen to kind of get involved. Most of them came to this kind of construction day, which may have been, how long, 2 years? 3 years ago? Yeah, it was a long time ago. Anyway, so the members have been kind of whittled back to a core group, and they're really, really dedicated. And they come in every fortnight, or they're actually rostered to come and water and do things at different days and different times. But yeah, it looks really good. It actually suits the building, to be honest, because it's the same kind of corrugated iron, which is nice. Okay, so next one is ukuleles. I had to put Jim in there. So this was also a council grant, a creative ageing grant. We were approached by someone at council to do something, and I'd been floating the idea of ukuleles again for a little while before that. So it basically became quite opportunistic. So when Julie came over and said, we want to do something, and she's actually a keen uke player herself. I don't know if I'd mentioned it previously or not, but we kind of jumped on the idea of doing ukes. The idea being that something weird like the seed library worked, why wouldn't ukuleles? And the argument being they're small, portable, and easy to store. Jim may argue with that because they're strewn all over his office in different shelves and under desks and whatnot. And we already lend unusual items like gym equipment, energy kits. And since then we've got all kinds of weird and wonderful things that we lend. So from this, we have had workshops, and part of the grant there were, try uke workshops. There was a Beyond Blue fundraiser. Feedback has been really, really good. It's almost a try before you buy kind of thing for some people. And again, we attracted new users from that. And that just kind of reinforced that idea of us and council actually being able to work together quite well to get things going here at the library, and being a bit of a conduit for different ideas. Making music. The idea of lifelong learning. A lot of seniors really have taken to ukuleles. Kids are keen because it's a great starting instrument for people. And again, it's that idea of sharing a common interest and coming together. Sustainability. So the only thing that we really need to do every now and then is replace strings. I think I've done one in the 2 years that we've had ukuleles, or the 18 months. Ongoing costs are minimal. That again comes back to batteries and strings, and then I guess it's the shelf life of the actual ukes until they break. I think they'll be good to go, because I guess you don't really rock hard on a ukulele. So these are just a couple of pictures of a couple of different programs that we've done. On the left, I've got a little ukulele care clip that we have on the cases, just to make sure that they look after them, don't put in a hot car, all that kind of stuff. You want to add anything, Jim?
Just to say that it was so successful that we've actually had to purchase more. So we started off with 10 and we've now got 15.
Yeah. And we have a bulk set. So occasionally we've had people that want to run a course or take them to a nursing home. So we actually lend a bulk set, almost like a book club set. And that works really well as well. Okay, so this is a little video that we did just to promote the ukes. I did test this before with Ellen. And hopefully you can hear it okay and in sync. So I'll just let that go.
This is Jeff. Jeff is a librarian. Jeff loves coffee, a good book, winking, exercise, Game of Thrones, technology, puppies, movies, karate, practical jokes, parties, and his wife. Actual wife, not present. Jeff loves pretty much everything, except ukuleles. Jeff hates ukuleles, which is unfortunate because he now lends ukuleles. Suck in, Jeff.
Yes, that was a bit of fun, and me doing my best Anchorman voice. Okay, next one is the Imaginarium, which is our recording studio and the studio that we're actually sitting in at the moment. So the idea for this, this was around the time I think Jim had seen Eli Nyberger a couple of times, or he'd come here to do a bit of a tour or a couple of chats. So it was that idea of alternative services and different spaces and using the library space in a different way. They have studios in the US, a couple in Melbourne, I believe, and the Edge, the State Library of Queensland, the Edge has a creative recording space as well. So we thought, why not give it a go? I have an own interest in music and recording, so I guess for me, I kind of pitched it as me having staff expertise and being able to somehow help, which I may have regretted after pitching it. Again, we talked about whether there would be a community need for it. There aren't a lot of recording studios in Port. There were a couple, but then they kind of closed down. Certainly no sort of free spaces for people to get in and have a go of this kind of thing. Always want to attract new users, so that's a good thing. We were particularly looking at the youth and young Indigenous people, and we believe we've actually managed to get those users, which is good. The other pitch is it was an existing space, so it was a larger meeting room. So the idea of putting it in an existing space was, I guess, more attractive than having to build it or attach it to the library building. Yeah, and the other point was it was just going to be a space needing very little staff assistance. So we get people in here and show them the space, but kind of tell them that they're on their own. So they've got this awesome equipment, awesome software, and it's up to them to kind of learn to use it. Again, this was really popular. We got a lot of media interest, newspaper, TV, all that kind of stuff. Feedback was really good because in this area it just hasn't happened. A lot of new users from it, which was good. And again, a perception change, I suppose. It's always that thing, you want to challenge the way libraries are seen and what people believe libraries are for and what they should do. So this certainly, we believe, challenged that. Again, making music. People make film, video, podcasts. There's local history recordings. We've had, I think, 3 different hypnotherapists come here to record stuff. And we use it. So we actually do a lot of our videos and recordings and all that kind of stuff in here as well. So, and that was also part of the pitch, I suppose, for the grant, was that it would be advantageous for us to have it as staff as well. Yep. Yeah. Jim will pull me up in if I'm making stuff up. Okay, so sustainability, maintenance of software and equipment. So far has been minimal. There's always hitches, as with any kind of equipment or software. But so far we've been able to get around it, which is good. Here's a few photos of the construction. So as you can see, the top left, that was just an existing room. They built a room within that room to create an air gap for soundproofing. It's got double glazed windows on the outside and the door, 2 doors there on the right, and a recording booth, which isn't actually soundproof itself, but it is a form of acoustic treatment and gives people 2 different ways to actually record in the studio. So this is the launch. Again, really, really popular. There's the mayor, Jim, and someone else. Who's that, Ellen? And this shot, I really like this shot because this was a really excited family. The father was an audio engineer. I don't think he had or could afford this kind of equipment, and the daughter was really excited to be in there. It's just a great shot. And then I think this is another video. As I should say, Jim is available for parties, weddings, any kind of event you like. He was very good to actually do that, so thank you, Jim. The branding, I think maybe you should talk about the branding. The branding was really good, and we obviously had outside help, so we had the council graphic designer actually come up with a few different ideas. And the end result, I think we're really happy with. The name Imaginarium was polarizing, to say the least. I came up with the name, I think.
Yes.
And I subsequently despised it by the end of it. But then I was outvoted, and we stuck with Imaginarium. So, yeah, it is what it is. Okay, the tech room. So this is the last project that we've completed. So we'll go through that, and then I guess we'll get to any questions. So the idea with the tech room, again, we had an interest in emerging tech already. Libraries are seen as kind of tech hubs, and this kind of really reinforced that idea. Fun gadgety equipment for kids and oldies to try and just have a go of, I suppose, that they wouldn't otherwise have access to. Cutting edge technology in the VR. We've got Oculus Rift and HTC Vive, which is really, really good. And we thought, as far as a grant application goes, it was just too ridiculous to even get over the line. So we didn't hold out much hope at all. Again, community need. It is a large LGA, so part of the pitch was that we would be taking it out. It's a pop-up IT grant, is what it was named in the grant application. So we were going to take it out, and we do take it out to remote schools and remote areas for people to try. Again, always want to attract new users with any project. And it's also an existing space. So it's a meeting room. It still actually functions as a meeting room, but we've modified it so we actually can use it for different events and open days and whatnot. And again, I guess that argument of having existing staff interest and expertise in any area is always good. And then on the other end, we thought it's so ridiculous that it might actually somehow work. So the effect was, after we got over the initial shock and I guess the trepidation, because we had no idea how we were going to actually do it, we went ahead and actually planned the project and got it going. Obviously, a lot of people attended. They signed up because of it. Everyone loves VR, just about, unless you get really, really motion sick, except for Jim. He gets a bit scared. The remote schools is a really good effect, I suppose. Jim, do you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, we've taken the stuff out to 2 or 3 remote schools, and it's just this idea of being able of the equity of access, so that there's kids out there who never see this sort of stuff, and we just take it out and demonstrate it and let them have a go on it. So it's been really excellent.
And again, a perception change, I suppose, which as librarians we should always be challenging. Tying into making or makerspace, we do print 3D objects and models and whatnot. Artworks I've put in because we actually have on the Vive VR, there's this program called Google Tilt Brush, which is amazing. This 3D virtual reality space where you have 2 controllers and they become a brush and a palette. We make kids happy and parents sick because we generally get them to actually have a go of the roller coaster VR, which is hilarious to watch. Sustainability, it's not dissimilar to the Imaginarium, I think, as far as equipment and software goes. Ongoing costs, I think.
Filament.
Yeah, filament for the actual 3D printer, but we got so much with the grant that we're only just starting to see the end of some of the roles now. So that's really, really good. Oh, and these are a few of the gadgets that we actually got. So we got the Makey Raspberry Pi, the 3 Doodler, which I don't know if anybody else has tried them, but they're so hard and nothing looks like what it does on the interwebs. A 3D printer, there's the HTC Vive. We also have the Oculus Rift, as I said, and we also have a drone which we take out to the remote schools just to show them how that works, get a few shots of the kids and maybe a shot of the school from up high. And that's fun and scary to pilot. We had a testing phase, which was really fun. So I love this shot of the old guy on the left because he just was absolutely amazed by the VR, and it's a really hard thing, I guess, to explain to somebody who's never experienced sort of a 360 degrees virtual world. So half the fun in this whole thing is just seeing people's reaction. And there's the launch day. We're going to be.
Coming soon to Macquarie Hastings Library. Weird, techie stuff. 3D printers. Print money. Does not print money. Virtual reality. You too can look this cool. 3 Doodlers. Draw in 3D. Like this beautiful Eiffel Tower. Here's one we prepared earlier. Makeys. Make music with things. Why? Don't ask Sue. Raspberry Pis. Weird, techie stuff. Come try it out. Feb 26 at Port Library.
And again, with the branding, we just tried to make it consistent with the Imaginarium, and I think that's a good thing as far as consistency goes, and I guess the communication of the message. And I think that's it. So we might get out of this and go to questions if anybody has any. Where can I do that? Oh, sorry, Ellen, I can't hear you.
Thank you. I separately silenced my own microphone. Thank you. I've unmuted everybody else, so please, if you can, speak questions. If you can't, if you could put them in chat for Brendan and Jim, that would be great. So any questions?
Gun silence.
You must have some. That was really interesting. I was fascinated by the way that there were some key collaborations, but also that there seemed to be some user groups, new sort of client groups or expanded client groups coming into the library, including in areas like you mentioned Indigenous young men were coming in more.
Yes, we do have a couple of regular users of the Imaginarium who I don't think have never used the library before, and so it's been really good in that respect.
Yeah.
Now there's a couple of questions that have come in through chat, Brendan.
So Chrissy M, how did you manage people questioning the library running a seed library other than Costa's advocacy? Well, it's always a bit of a why not, I think, response, to be honest. By throwing it back at them, they generally don't have a response to that. But again, it's that idea of having a space or a community space and having somewhere for people to meet, share stuff, share info, share seeds. Generally, the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. It's just been the odd person initially that really was like, I guess they were just shocked about it and just kind of questioned why we were doing it. But these are the people that probably don't think we should have a recording studio in here.
It'd be mine.
Sorry, there's another question. How much did it cost to set up the tech room? The whole grant from memory, Jim?
The grant was for $55,000, but the room was actually a training room, so we just really adapted it slightly. So most of the money was spent on equipment.
Yeah. How do you manage access to the room? It may have been said earlier. Is it open? So the tech room is, as I said, it's a meeting space as well. So it's an existing space, an existing meeting room. So it gets booked by regular users on odd days. We basically set aside 1 day a week for us to do our stuff. So whether it's to go in and print things or have an open day or things like that. We also have the smaller printers and we take it out with us either on the library van or just in our own cars and we go out and visit schools. So yeah, sometimes it's a juggle, but yeah, it's sort of, it works so far.
Are you finding that people are, I don't know, making new connections in the community? Because one of the points you made earlier seemed to be that it was the technology is an enabler of people coming together and doing things together. Are you finding that's happening, or is it still kind of people sorting that out?
I would say it was still sorting that out. There's a couple of things we could have done better. For example, with the Raspberry Pis, I think we should have tried to set up classes for coding and use the Raspberry Pis in that way, which we didn't do. There's always the problem with staffing. You know, do we have enough staff to do these things? And yeah.
So basically, yeah, we come up with ideas and we do things, and then we handle it after we do it.
It's been a bit of a trait through all the different things. It's been Brendan comes up with the idea, I say no, then we review it and I say yes, and then we do it and then we say,
blame Brendan.
How can we possibly cope with all this stuff? So yeah.
Yeah. A chat question. How big was the staff learning curve with the weird techie stuff? Considerable, I suppose. It's not, I mean, there's certain staff that will tackle certain things. So in the Imaginarium, as an example, it's either me and one or two others that may troubleshoot, and it's the same with the tech room. So yeah, I mean, I'm in no way a makey expert. Raspberry Pi still intimidates me. But it's that idea of giving people access to it and seeing what happens. And usually they teach us stuff.
So that actually sounds quite promising, the way you're getting the connections with the people within the community trying things. But also, it was nice seeing in the different videos a range of staff involved in so many different things.
Yeah, and it's fun because you want to drag everybody into those videos because then everybody gets laughed at. Do you have any regular groups that use the facilities for each group, or does it tend to be run by the library? Do you have any regular?
It tends to be an event run by the library.
Oh, I see.
We don't have, for the techie stuff, we don't have groups using it on their own as yet. And no, we don't engage volunteers in the tech room activities so far.
We have had interest. People have actually said, look, you know, can I help with this? Or I'm really interested in that. But we just haven't gone down that road yet, certainly with the tech room. Sorry, each room. No.
It also seems to be really good the way you're able to take some of the elements out to, say, the smaller schools and smaller communities in the area, so that it isn't dependent on people's capacity to come into Port Macquarie. You'll take it out and about. That seems to have got a particularly strong response.
Yes, I would say so. Not just to rural schools, but also to community events. So we can take this stuff out and set it up pretty much anywhere. So, for example, this coming Saturday, there's a celebration at Warhope to do with the local Hastings Co-op. So they're having a family fun day, and we'll be there with the VR equipment to demonstrate it there. Well, when I say we, I mean I will be there. So, yes, I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay, a couple more chat questions.
What's next for your maker spaces? I don't know.
We can't tell you. We'd have to kill you. We're in the process of applying for another grant, so watch the space.
We are running out of space though, so at some point we're going to get to an event horizon, I think. With the VR, do people use their own phones? No. So it's as most people probably know, it's just a certain number of Samsung models. It is a Samsung device, the actual portable VR. We did discuss actually buying and lending headsets, because you can get cheap Google Cardboard or just about any plastic rip-off device. We bought one or two and tried them out, and it didn't really work, and we just haven't gone back to that idea. I still don't mind that idea of a cheap VR headset that people could use or borrow and use. But yeah.
Any more questions? I'll just give people a moment in case they're typing.
No one wants to talk.
Okay, so no questions. Are there no further questions for Brendan and Jim? Okay, well, look, thank you very much. That was really interesting. Oh, no.
Thank you, Jeff.
I can hear you typing.
There's some rigorous typing. I missed the start. Can I get a copy of the PowerPoint? I'll just start again. Okay, here we go.
The video will be available.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Ellen.
I was going to say the video will be available so you can actually listen as well as watch the PowerPoint.
If anybody needs the PowerPoint, just you can send me an email. Or I didn't put that anywhere, but yeah, and I can forward it on, or I can forward it to Ellen or whatever.
Cool.
Okay, that sounds great. So any more questions before I... Okay, yes, well, I'm going to join in thanking Brendan and Jim. That was really fabulous. We're hoping to have more Maker Talks continuing in 2017. We have 2 online talks coming up, though, for local studies, actually 3, counting the local studies meeting next week. The afternoon session is looking at collecting local content. But on the 17th of November, Nat Carmichael is talking about comics and local studies. He's a creator of comics. And then on the 19th of November, Kelly Hisser and Preston Austin are talking about MusiCat. That is a system that's being used in Edmonton and a few other public libraries for making current music available, but also it does have an archiving option. So watch various email lists for those coming around. But yeah, really big thank you to Brendan and Jim. That was fabulous. I feel really inspired about what you're talking about, and it sounds like some really great things are happening in your community.
Thank you, Ellen.
Thanks, Ellen.